Hi, do you wonder what the main difference is between natural barefoot running and traditional running is? Then please stay tuned, because today what we're going to do is we are going to discuss the major difference biomechanically between natural barefoot running and traditional running that you're used to. Hi, I'm Dr. Josh, and I'm a practicing chiropractor in Ontario, Canada, and I've been taking care of patients for 25 years. I got into natural running mainly as a way to stay fit for my patients, and I found that over time my technique changed and I went from normal traditional running that most people are familiar to something that's called barefoot or natural running. I found that I actually worked better, my endurance got improved, my technique improved, I was able to run faster, and I actually stayed healthier. So today we are going to go and discuss the one main question, which is, what is the big difference between natural running and traditional running? So be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the like icon and the notification button to be alerted every time we put a video out. I'm going to be putting a video out every couple weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, depending on the holidays, to make sure that you are up to date on the latest information on natural running. So let's get on with the show. So to help describe and explain what natural is versus traditional running, I'm going to use my volunteer. So I have this great little stick guy, but I'm going to use him today to kind of help explain the difference between the two techniques and how to run. As you remember from one of my previous videos, I discussed the difference between a traditional running shoe and a natural running shoe or barefoot shoe. One of the main things that you probably remember if you watched it or you notice is that on a normal traditional shoe, you have a very high cushiony heel and a very low toe height, meaning that every time you walk, you're actually walking with your heel higher off the ground, versus a natural or barefoot shoe is your foot's completely flat. The reason for this is when you run with a traditional shoe, because you have that cushion, your body's constantly going to be landing on the heel, your body's going to roll through the midfoot, and then your you're going to toe off. So even though it's pitching you forward so that you're running, it looks like you're running on your toe, you're actually going to be doing heel strike. That cushion is what's going to be absorbing the weight or the force of the run. The challenge is a couple inches or even an inch of foam is not enough protection for your joints, your ligaments, your hips, knees, ankles, feet, and toes. So all the joints in your lower extremity, including your hip and your spine, have to take the force of it. So what that means is this: if I take my little character here, and he should be normally straight up and down, right? That's a normal good posture, right? When he runs, if he runs with a traditional shoe, he's gonna step forward and his knees are gonna be bent. Obviously, this is not perfectly anatomical because your knees don't go side to side like that. But he's gonna heel strike here, and what that means is when he heel strikes, he's gonna be in a flexed position. So basically, you will be naturally, when you run, flexed forward. So you're basically, if you think about it, you're running with traditional shoes hunched over like this, right? And so what that means is all the joints in the knee, your joints in your knee, in your hips, in your lower back have to actually absorb the shock of the compression. So if you think about it, you weigh maybe say 100 pounds, you multiply by gravity, and I'm not a physicist, but that's a huge increase in physical pressure on those joints and the ligaments. So that's why you end up having patients, or I hear from my patients all the time who say that, oh, I used to be a jogger and then I ran and then now I blew up my knees and I blew up my hips, right? Because it's the constant compression on those joints and on those ligaments because they are running traditionally from the heel. So on a short term might not seem like a big deal, but when you're talking about the hundreds and thousands of miles that a lot of my runners do, you're gonna actually notice it longer and longer and longer, versus a barefoot natural shoe. So if you remember the barefoot natural shoe, the difference between that is it has very, very thin heel, very thin toe. It's very, very flat. There's not a lot of material, so not a lot of shock absorption. And what that ends up doing is it forces your body to run, so you run more midsole forefoot. So when you do that, that does a couple things. Number one, you can't run on your heel, because if you try to, it's gonna hurt. And you're actually gonna really physically feel the pain in your hips, your knees, and your joints. Even if you have you can experiment. Go barefoot and try running on your heel. You're not gonna be able to. You naturally will run on your forefoot to take the pressure off jamming your heel into the ground. So when you run natural, when you start running midsole forefoot, what ends up happening is instead of being hunched over, hitting your heel, you're gonna be midsole, you're gonna be standing up more taller. I'm sorry, I'm raising too high. You're gonna stand up more taller. So in effect, your foot lands, your knees will bend a little bit with each foot strike. Your hips will flex a little bit with each foot strike. And so the joints the ligaments that are designed, that are in those joints will act as shock absorbers to take the stress versus absorbing it. There's a difference between absorbing the stress and transmitting it evenly through the joints. And that's what we want. And so in effect, instead of running flex forward normal traditionally, you'll actually be running straight up and down. So what ends up driving the momentum of you moving forward is not your legs pushing you forward. When you're running naturally, it's actually gravity, because your body will naturally lean. So for example, traditional running, you're flexed. Natural running, you're up and over your hips, and when your hips will actually drive you forward. So it's your hips and your chest, which is actually the gravitational pull. It's almost like a controlled falling. So instead of having to push your body weight through it, you will actually naturally use gravity force, your body weight, and the recoil from your ankles, knees, and hips, and your body to propel you forward. So this sounds fantastic, right? Why don't I just get it and start running? Well, the truth of the matter is natural running and barefoot running does take time to adapt to it. If you've been running for years, normally, like most people do with big, thick, heeled shoes, it's gonna take you some time to start adapting to it. So the one exercise I gave previously was just to go to an open field and start doing laps, running a certain distance, walking back, running a certain distance in bare feet, which is fantastic. If you've been doing that, fantastic, that's wonderful. The next thing I want you to start doing is I want you to start running around the block, like start actually physically running, because you need to start getting some miles to get used to tradition or to natural running. So how you do that is make sure you're running a shoe that doesn't have a very thick sole. It doesn't have to be an expensive shoe. In a previous video, I talked about the different styles of shoes that I use. You don't have to go out and spend, $200 on new shoes. Just get a cheap shoe that's very, very thin, maybe like a court shoe, or if you have like an old tennis shoe with no heel, that's fantastic. Start trying that and just start running just a small loop around the block. If you are already putting a lot of miles running, do a loop first like that, change into your other shoes, and then continue with your training. You need to get the muscles in the legs to start to adapt to this new technique. You're learning to walk all over again. It's a whole new technique. You're not going to be able to start off right away. I had a friend who decided to do natural running, and he bought a pair of natural running shoes and thought, you know what, I'm in great shape, I'm going to start running, and this shouldn't be no problem. So he did a 10K run with natural shoes, not thinking about it. When he got home, he actually couldn't walk for 2 weeks because his calf muscles and his quads and his hamstrings and his back were not ready for that kind of an impact yet. So those muscles have got to learn to adapt. So you are learning to walk again. When a little baby starts to walk, it takes them time to start standing first. Then they toddle around holding onto objects, and then they're actually able to start fully. You take a step, they take 2 steps, the next thing you know, they're running around. It's going to be kind of the same sort of thing. You need to give your body time to adapt and learn to this new technique. It's not going to happen fast, but the rewards and the benefits of running this way is going to be so beneficial and so much better for you that it's worth the energy and the investment to start training now to get your body used to it. Thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. I hope this information was helpful. Please, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Share this video with your friends, your family members, especially those who are running. I would love to get their opinion to see what they say. If you know anyone who is naturally running, give them this video. I'd love to hear their opinion too, especially if they've been running for a while like myself. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Anyways, great to have you around. I'm Dr. Josh. I'm the Natural Running Doc. I'm helping you run naturally, one step at a time. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.